Hey everybody, I hope you can hear me. If you're here, then please let me know. That would be cool. Give me a thumbs up or a like if you're in the live chat room. That would be brilliant. Just trying to see what's going on here. Making sure everything's working. Martin's, yes, you're in. Can you hear my audio okay? Let's do a little audio check before we get into this. Just give me some feedback on that. Be much appreciated. Smiley face, that's all good. Not too loud, not too quiet. You can leave some comments if you want. That would be cool. I'm seeing all that on screen, so it's fine. Yes, but yes, it's too loud, or yes, it's too quiet, or yes, the audio is just right. Perfect. Good man. Thank you. I should have posted this a bit earlier, really, a bit more notice, but it was a last-minute thing that I wanted to throw together after testing it last night, just to see where it was working and what was going on. I probably won't get too many people in this little live view today because people just won't see it soon enough, which is a shame. My fault. I take full responsibility for it, so I apologize in advance. But we just wanted to touch. I wanted to touch today. Obviously, Fujifilm have recently released their new X Webcam firmware update, which enables us Fujifilm users, with certain X cameras and GFX cameras to now use our cameras as webcams or for live streaming via our USB port, which is just brilliant news. Brilliant news for all of us here. You're good looking today. Thank you, Martin. Thank you. I had some sleep last night, which helps, you know. Thanks for the comments, my friend. Not what I expected in this live stream, but there we go. Thank you, buddy. So Fujifilm users, yes, we now have a free firmware update, which enables us to use certain Fujifilm X Series and GFX Series cameras to use them either as a webcam, if you want to use that in Zoom or Skype or something like that, or even Google Meets, Google Hangouts. You can use it as a webcam for that. But we can also use it for streaming, which is what I'm doing right now, through OBS, but you can also use it with Ecamm Live as well, which is what I'm using for my stream. Now, I'm using Fuji X-T4 for this, and I am now streaming literally out of my USB port straight into Ecamm Live, which is awesome because if we wanted a live stream before with the X Series or GFX Series cameras, you would have to go down the HDMI capture card route, and you would have to he says, just trying to bring something up on screen, use something like a Camlink 4K. They do a 1080 version. That's what I've got. I've still got that. And I use it in certain circumstances, and I'll explain why. But that aside, it's a free piece of software, which is awesome now, and you can live stream with it. The quality, you know, I'm using a 23mm lens here. It's just awesome. I mean, USB, no more. You know, for people that just want to do little bits and pieces or even want to live stream, you now don't have to pay out 120, 130, 140 pounds in the UK for something like the Elgato, 4K HDMI capture device. There's no getting around it. The Elgato, if you're in 4K and everything else, is still going to be better quality through HDMI and a clean feed off your sensor than what you're going to get via USB. Goes without saying. But that aside, I'm using the X-T4 to come to you now via my USB, and the image quality actually looks all right. It looks okay. It looks good. It looks good. Get some lighting in there, and I think you'll be all sorted. Do we have anyone else in the room? Anyone else looking? I know it was quite late. Anyone else joining the chat? Just say who you are. I can see it in the comments. I knew I should have posted this way sooner to let people know I was going to do this. So what do we do with it? Okay, let's get into what it is and how we use it. Now, remember, it's free. It's absolutely free. And Fujifilm, you just go to the website. You can download it. Let's just switch over to that so you can see. I will share this with you. There we go. How about that? Is that any better? Give you some feedback. I think I've switched screens and the audio has not carried over. Martin, you seem to be my man today. Is that any better on the sound? Anybody? Triple sound, stop, double sound. Anybody give me some feedback before I continue? I don't want to deafen your ears with double or triple echoes. That's better. Thank you, Gary Clark. Appreciate that. Thank you. That's better. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I didn't see that pop up on my screen because I got your stream, your comments in a little window while I'm reading this off. I know what it is. I've just found out what it is when I looked up. My problem. My fault. Sorry, guys. So yeah, your exposure settings are baked in. Now, for me, it's luckily with the X-T4, we can flip the screen right round now, so I can actually just set my camera's exposure with my continuous lighting before I plug my USB cable in. And I've got manual settings on this, but for ease of use, they are recommending just go full auto, and the camera will take care of everything for you. And focus mode selector, autofocus single. Okay, as simple as that. Those are recommended settings. The only sort of configuring your camera is the top bit. Just keeping it on still, single frame mode, change your PC connection mode or connection modes, and USB auto, and you're done. It's as simple as that. How nice is that? People in the chat, just give me some feedback on image quality from this, because obviously you're seeing it on a live stream. I'm seeing it in a tiny window. It's working, it's working absolutely fine. It's working just so simple. It means you don't have to carry extra HDMI cables with you or HDMI capture cards or anything, which is brilliant. Obviously, there's a list of cameras that it's compatible with. I've just put that chart up for you now. So currently, I thought they had a couple others on there, but I may be wrong. But this is the current list I could find at the moment. So yeah, GFX 100, 50S, GFX 50R. Any of you got the XH1, X Pro 3, X Pro 2? And I can tell you I've tried it on the X Pro 2, which I didn't. I just didn't think the X Pro 2 would have that functionality. But it works a dream, just like this, which is awesome. XT4, XT3, XT2. I thought you could also do it on the XT200 as well. I need to look into that, but I thought the XT200 was also in that list. Hopefully this list will be updated at a later date. I'm guessing it all depends on, sensor and processor in camera. Gary Clark, so would this work for Zoom? So yes, it works for Zoom, it works for Skype, and it works for Google Meets or Google Hangouts. It also works with OBS for live streaming, and I'm using Ecamm Live for my session here. So yes, just come out of the screen. There you go. Let's come off that. Yes, so just checking that I'm not mashing up the audio. So yeah, it does work for Zoom. I've tried it on Zoom. I've tried it on Skype. Now, I've had a bit of a funny glitch already on the Mac one. I'm sure there's some glitches to iron out as Fujifilm goes forward with this. On my MacBook Pro laptop, I can run this operation or this setup via Skype and Zoom. But on my desktop iMac, my 27-inch, I can run Zoom but not Skype for some reason. Even though Skype has got the current firmware up to date, it won't let me run the camera through a USB. It won't recognize it, which is really weird because it's working on one system and not the other. So I have no idea what's going on there. If it doesn't work when you plug a USB in, if you've got any of the compatible cameras, just make sure that if you're using Zoom or Skype or Google Meets or Hangouts, make sure you've got the current version of the software installed. Most people have their systems to update automatically, like I do, and that didn't work for Skype. I had to physically go in and update Skype, and I had to update Zoom as well. So just double check you've got that as well. So people that are in the chat, just give me some feedback of the audio quality, the video quality coming off this USB. How does it look at your end? And just let me know what devices you're just watching this on the live stream. Are you watching on mobile? Are you watching on laptop? Are you watching on desktop? Any of that feedback. Roy Lewis, I wonder why the XT30 is not supported. I don't know either. Because obviously it's got the same sensor as XT3. So maybe that's coming. Maybe this is just like first release and they're just doing firmware updates for the other cameras. It may be something to do with the power to the board, to the chip. I don't know. I know that's been an issue with HDMI and output in previous models like X Pro 2 and stuff. Who knows? I'm not the techie at Fujifilm on that side, but I'm sure they've got answers for that. But I mean, it's such a simple setup. Video is over sharpened, but frame rate is good. Thank you, Paul. Paul, thanks for joining the room. Over sharpened. Who knows? That might even be my camera settings. Not that I've got sharpening turned on, but who knows? I don't see any settings in, he says, just checking, in Ecamm Live. I've got no sharpening in this at all. So just thought I'd check that as I'm talking to you guys. Blacks are crushed. Okay, Paul, what device are you looking at this on, please? Because obviously with Ecamm Live, you can change the saturation and the brightness and all sorts of other settings in here. Gamma range, tint, temperature, all those kind of things. Go Clark, watching iMac 27. Looks perfectly fine. Bear in mind, Facebook Live isn't always the best quality. Yeah, true, Gary. Very, very true. Facebook does crush things a little bit live. YouTube Live will be completely different and a lot clearer. Anybody else on a desktop that's getting sort of, reasonable image quality? I mean, considering it's only USB, guys, to be fair. If it was HDMI and we were doing 4K 60, 4K 30, we'd be in a different ballpark. Although Facebook would probably still crush the blacks and things, to be fair. Samsung PC monitor. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I've got two monitors here. I'm looking at it on my BenQ, which is my retouch monitor, which is, they're both calibrated, but my blacks do get a little bit crushed when it's on my iMac screen, but it looks a lot more subtle when it's on my BenQ, even though they are both calibrated. Anybody else tried this yet? There's an interesting thing. Anybody else? I know who had the XT30. Obviously, you can't try it at the moment. Roy Lewis, do you have any other X Series or GFX Series camera, Roy, that you can try? Your beard looks good. Eyebrows not too defined. It's perfectly watchable. I'll take that as a compliment both ways for the beard. Had a little trim up this morning, Paul. Had to make an effort, didn't I? It's been a while since we've been out in the wild. Yeah, but I've tried this on X Pro 2, and X Pro 2 works with OBS, and sort of fall past my head. Then it's one of my acoustic tiles has just fallen off the ceiling. Brilliant. I've tried it on X Pro 2 and I've tried it on XT4. XT3 works fine. Really good, loud and clear, nice tonality. Brilliant. My audio is coming through a Rode Rodecaster Pro unit. It's my podcasting desk. So that audio is coming through into Ecamm Live as my source. So that's all good. Got to watch it because my voice might put you to sleep. So I've been told by some Americans I have a smooth voice. So there we go. So no audio coming through camera, obviously because it's only USB. Any questions? I knew I should have put a post out earlier so more people could come in. And we got 44 people in a room, which is cool. What X Series or GFX cameras have people got? Anybody in the chat room, just let me know if you've tried this yet, whether you're on PC or whether you're on Mac. Let's just to get some conversation running here. Who's had success with it? Who would use it? There's a question. Who would use it for Zoom meetings, Skype meetings? Are there people that don't have webcams that are happy now that they can use their camera via USB without having to pay out extra money, for HDMI capture devices? Thanks, Paul. I'm sure everybody can see his comment in the chat while your trousers are tingling. Checks in the post, mate. Obviously GFX as well. I could set a GFX 50 up in here and use the GFX as well with medium format glass. Obviously, here's some benefits. Let's get to some benefits before I start laughing even more. Here's some benefits to using your X Series camera or GFX camera for either meetings, Zoom meetings, Skype meetings, whatever you want to do, or if you're going to do live streaming via OBS or Facebook Live. Obviously, I can go through Ecamm to YouTube and everything. So the benefits are you're going to get the quality to a degree, almost. The quality of your X Series glass, which is going to be amazing. Secondly, one thing you can't do so much with webcams. I mean, I've got a Logitech C920 here, which I use occasionally or for a B cam. But of course, it's a very, very wide angle lens and the depth of field just goes on forever. So the benefits of using your own systems, your own cameras in this glass is that you can choose your own aperture, which is cool. So if you want a shallower depth of field, you can have a shallower depth of field. If you want everything sharp around you and you want to show some other things in the studio or in your space, then obviously you can choose your own aperture to get your depth of field. So that's the benefit of using this. And for those of you that may not know, yes, it works with green screen as well, because this is a green screen behind me. This is not my actual office space. Let you do a little secret there. Myth smashed. Everybody thought it was my own space and thought it looked quite nice. No, it is green screen and it is one of my backdrops. X Pro 1 and X Pro 2. Tried on X Pro 2. Brilliant. Nice, Marcus. Nice. Are you on PC or Mac? Because I know some PC users can't, we found out last night, can't stream to OBS. Anybody else using PC that's having a problem streaming to OBS? Anyone tried it? It works on Mac. Gary Clark, I haven't tried it yet, but I have weekly Zoom meetings, so it would be useful to have XT2, XH1, and GFX 50R. Cool. Gary, it'd be interesting to know which one you use and how you get on with that. Is there a free Wayne Johns with every download? Well, we could always do like smooth talk in the bedtime hour if you want, Tim. Marcus, PC Windows 10. Have you tried it with any of your X Series cameras yet? To any success? Should I, Martin? Should I what? You didn't finish that sentence. Should you test it? Yeah, I think you should. I mean, if people are going to do Zoom meetings and things, and you don't have webcams, or you do, but you want to take advantage of glass and depth of field and all those manual settings, then why not try it? Why not try it? We had someone say that, hey, if I want a webcam, I'll use a webcam. But if you want to use a webcam, then use a webcam. But if you really want to go out and have a play with this feature and this function, as it is free, let's not forget that, then use your X Series camera and try your lenses and play with the depth of field. Tried it with zoom only so far. Okay, Marcus, cool. Anybody do any live streaming apart from, Zoom meetings or Skype meetings? Chris McGreevy, when I tried it out, I absolutely could not get this quality. Okay. And what? It looks like it was streaming at about 480p. Chris, what were you using to stream? Were you using OBS? Just interested, because I tried OBS and I found that OBS quality was a little bit less than Ecamm Live. Any of you using a Mac, just have a look at Ecamm Live. The user interface is much, much easier. Very Mac-like, if you want to call it that. Ecamm Live is a much nicer user interface than OBS. OBS can be very complicated and very old-looking, I think, in its layout. Ecamm Live is a lot smoother, and I find the image quality a little bit better in Ecamm Live. I found that OBS was picking the resolution for me, the frame rate for me. Sorry. Even though I wanted to pick something else, it wouldn't let me choose too much. Whereas Ecamm Live does give you a few more easier options, and screen overlays and all those kind of uses are just, I find, much easier than OBS. Tried in Zoom and OBS, not actually online, but testing out. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I had to do a few tests without going live as well. Maybe have a look at Ecamm Live. Try that, because, like I say, I found it slightly cleaner than OBS. That's just me on Mac. Gotta go. Thanks for the input. Very useful. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for popping in. This is just a very random one. So, I don't expect hundreds and hundreds of people to be here. Maybe next time I will advertise it, a few days in advance. But, just wanted to go through it. It's very simple to install. So now, free firmware update, just download it. You don't have to put it in your camera or anything. Just download it to your computer system. Go to the Fujifilm website, follow the instructions to install, and there's a gentle guide there. The auto's nice, but sorry, just jumping back to Chris. The autofocus was nice, but the quality using Cam Twist seemed better. Cam Twist, what's that? Is that like Cam Link? Is that an HDMI capture? Not sure what Cam Twist is. Maybe you could shine some light on that one, Chris, with a yes or a no. Is it an HDMI capture device? Or is it another piece of streaming software? I'm not aware of Cam Twist. But yeah, just install it. And, you've got the option. You can either put your camera on fully auto, let the camera take care of everything. Or, like I do, I've used manual controls because I wanted full control. So I've set my aperture, my ISO, and my shutter speed in my camera so that I can make use of that for my setup and my lighting that I've got here. Chris, if you could just let us know what Cam Twist is without me tapping away on the internet while I'm talking, that would be cool. No, it was just saw your message now, Chris. It's just at the bottom of the feed. Cam Twist seemed better. No, it was a work. It was a work? Not sure I follow that one. Maybe I'll have a look at that afterwards. See what Cam Twist is. Sorry, but that's pretty much it. Anybody tried it on GFX at all? Anybody with GFX here in the chat that's tried it? Let me know. Anybody? Anybody else tried it on anything other than XT3, XT4, or X Pro 2? We've got XH1 in a room. Anybody else tried it yet? Work around before the software was released. Basically siphoned out the output camera into other software. Get you. Okay. And your workaround before, Chris, was that going through HDMI or USB? Just out of interest. The old Cam Twist. Is that HDMI or USB out of camera? See, learning something all the time, folks, no matter how much experience you've got. But free software, so X Series camera or some X Series cameras. As I say, I've put those on the screen at the moment. So let me just pop that screen back over. USB. Oh, okay, interesting. So the video quality seemed a bit better via the workaround on USB. Interesting. Interesting. Very nice. Well, the good thing is with this, I don't know how complicated your workaround was, Chris, before this. But the good thing is when you open up, Zoom or any of those, you just pick your XT. I mean, I've got an XT4 here, but just pick the XT3, 4, 2, whatever you're using as your camera. And Ecamm Live, which is a streaming software I'm using now, your camera's just there in the drop down. It's so simple. Just drop down menu, just click on it, which is cool. Makes it so simple. So a nice little feature from Fujifilm. Came out on PC first, now released for Mac. Kind of happy with that. Camera Live, Cam Twist, and then to whatever software you wanted, but you don't get any autofocus. Oh, okay. I wonder if you've got XT4 then, because it's got a pre-autofocus function in there and not continuous autofocus. I wonder if you could use the pre-autofocus in the menu. And Glyn, hey man, welcome, Glyn, welcome back. And you just jumped back to Mac. I've been following you on that one, buddy. Heads up about Ecamm Live. Yeah, Ecamm Live is a lot cleaner than OBS. The user interface is just very, very relaxing and reassuring compared to OBS. OBS, I find, bombards you with a lot of mess. Integration, you can even share your phone screen and everything in with Ecamm Live. So yeah, have a look at that. It's worth it. Whatever software you want to do, but don't get any autofocus. Yeah, I mean, you can't use continuous focus on these with the USB, but the XT4 does have that autofocus, sort of pre-focus. That's in the setup instructions, which I will just flick back to for you quickly. Here, if you can see that. So just configuring your computer. So here you can go to autofocus, manual focus settings, and go to pre-autofocus and turn that on, and that will give you an autofocus function. So yeah, without using your continuous focus modes. So maybe give that a go, Chris, if you're going to continue to use the method that you're using, really. Now, as I said, it's not going to be the same quality as something like a Camlink. I mean, that gives me, 60p or 4K. So you're not going to get that sort of quality. So I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're doing things like this and live streams, hey, X Series cameras and GFX, now do it via USB. I think the image quality is good enough. Yes, we're coming through to Facebook. So Facebook's going to crush colors and blacks and contrast a little bit. Seeing it on Facebook, it is a little bit different than what I'm seeing on my Ecamm Live screen. So I can appreciate that. And I know Facebook does crush things a lot sometimes. But just such nice, functionality now in our X Series cameras. Nice one, Fujifilm. I know a couple of other camera manufacturers are doing it as well. I think Canon have just done one similar. And I know somebody mentioned Olympus. So it's nice to see that camera manufacturers are now bringing this out for little things like this where we don't need 4K quality. But having returned using Apple, how are you finding it, Glyn, coming back to Apple, my friend? I know you had a lot of trouble with your PCs, and we won't go into that because I don't want to start giving you nightmares and giving you the shakes of nervousness again. Software crashes and operating systems and things. Not saying everybody has PC problems, but I know Glyn did. So, but anybody else? Has anybody else tried it with the GFX? I mean, I've done an offline sample test with it, and it works fine. Yes, I think GFX is a bit of an overkill, but if you're out and about somewhere, or you're in a studio, you're on a shoot, and you're indoors, and you go, hey, let's just do a little, in studio live stream at the moment, and you're only shooting with a GFX. It means you can just stick it on a tripod, plug a USB cable in, and stream live. With that function, and use all your Fujifilm glass and take control of your exposure and aperture settings if you want to blow your studio out of focus in the background and things. Wow, just had another one full. Acoustic foam tiles. All right, they're buggers to stick up. They keep falling down. I'm just waiting for them to fall on my head on a live stream. That'd be funny for you guys. Yeah. Anybody else try GFX? Anyone? I'm interested to see if anyone has done it. I know it's only come out recently on Apple Mac, so I know not everybody would, be jumping on that and doing live streams at the moment. Was it yesterday or the day before it came out? No. Okay. Any other thing? I mean, there's not really a lot to go into in terms of its setup because it is so simple. There's 1, 2, 3 things you need to check really. 1 thing you need to change and 3 things you need to check. The rest of the recommended items for simple webcam use, if you want to use it as a webcam or streaming, is your, pre-order focus, face detection on type thing. If you've got that functionality in X-T3 and 4 and X Pro 3 and things and GFX, and your exposure, the easy way around is to just leave your shutter, ISO, and your aperture on auto. If you've got any ambient light in your room, you're using ambient light, obviously your exposure could shift and change while your camera adjusts to your ambient light. Here we're in a controlled environment, so it doesn't matter. And as I said before, yes, it works through USB even with green screen, but that comes through Ecamm Live and stuff. Have you set shutter speed at 50th, 60th to get a smoother look, or just balancing for exposure? No, I have set my my shutter speed at a 60th because in Ecamm Live I've got a 30 frame per second frame rate set, so my shutter speed double my frame rate. And then I'm using my ISO really to control my exposure because I've already set my aperture at f4 for this. So my ISO will be my controlling wheel, if you want to call it that. Obviously, I can turn my lighting power up and down if I want a lower ISO. I can't remember what the ISO is set at the moment. About 400, I think, for this, if I remember rightly. I've not got my lighting too bright in here, so I think about 400 ISO. I've got my ISO set on this X-T4. But yes, I have set it at a 60th, indeed. Yeah, die-hard solutions, can't seem to get out of that. But then it's USB, so you're not really in movie mode per se. If you were in movie mode and then coming out through HDMI, then all that functionality would have more accurate purpose, I think. But in USB, it's not going to be a clean feed off your sensor like an HDMI, a clean feed would be. So I'm not sure whether that's relevant as much as it would be in a proper, a movie mode coming through an HDMI capture device. But I've set it like that anyway. I'm happy with it for what it is for USB. But I think it's awesome. So who in the chat room and people that are watching, who would use this for, say, a Zoom meeting or a Skype meeting or even a Google Meet and Hangouts meeting, or who does a bit of live streaming or is even thinking of doing a bit of live streaming that now has this functionality to use your X Series or GFX Series camera for this purpose? Anybody? Jeff, extraordinary. Thank you, Jeff. I'm guessing you mean the software, not me. But thanks anyway. Anybody else do streaming? Or who would use it for Zoom meetings and things? Well, I know most people use their phones or their laptop cameras. I don't think many people would want to whip out their X Series camera or GFX for a Zoom meeting. I might be completely wrong. People might just want the quality. As I said, they might want to be able to control their depth of field. I would use it to stream my son's baseball games. Oh, cool. Cool. Never thought about that. You see, the uses now are just growing and growing and growing, aren't they? We get told that it's software for webcam, and look at all the streaming purposes that we have already. Absolutely awesome. So it's not just webcam. A lot of people thought it would just be for webcam use, and people are going, why would I use my camera as a webcam when I've got a camera in my laptop, I've got a webcam, I've got my iPhone, I can use all of that. Completely understand that. But we move over to streaming services, and as we say, we're not just using those in the studio, we're pulling those out the studio, you're taking it on location and stuff. So to be able to use it in that way, that's cool. Rachel, what would you use to stream your son's baseball games? Where would you stream that? And what would you use? Would you use OBS, Ecamm Live? Just out of interest, really. And what X Series camera do you have? And have you tried this yet? There's another question. Anybody got any questions on it? I mean, I know there's not a lot to dive into, but any questions at all with regards to using your X Series camera for either a webcam or live streaming. Anything. Hey, Ellie, welcome to the room. You got the same wall. Your wall colour is the same as mine. What, green? Is that what you mean? I have got another one. I've got a big studio setup, a big studio space as well. It's got to be done, hasn't it? It's got to be done. David Goldberg, thanks for joining the chat. Hi, using X Pro 2 cameras and Mac software as webcam not working. Mac software as webcam not working. I wonder why yours not working. So you've downloaded. This is interesting. So you're on a Mac. You've downloaded the Fujifilm X webcam firmware. Yes, David, I'm guessing. You've downloaded that, and then where are you trying to use it after that? Skype or Zoom or where? Just out of interest. Get a bit more information on this. All these people listening to see what's going on. Yes. So you've downloaded it, yeah. And where are you using it? What software are you using for webcam? Skype, Zoom? All. Oh, all of them. Now, check this, because I know people have their computer systems set for auto update. You'll need to check with Zoom and Skype to make sure you have. Yeah, I had the same with Zoom. Go into Zoom and go to About and go to check for updates. I think I'm 5.1.2 or something, and people that are on 5.0 point something firmware, it won't work. So you do need to go into Zoom and do a software update. And luckily Zoom does it quite quickly. So check that first. If you're not on 5.1.2 or 5.2.1, I'm not sure which it is, you will need to do an update in your system. And then it should show. I had the same problem yesterday with it not showing. And it was Zoom that I needed to update, not my X Pro 2. And I have tried it with X Pro 2 after the update, and it works absolutely fine. So yeah, try that. FaceTime not working either. Not tried it on FaceTime. I'm not sure of that. I won't do it now, obviously, because I'm live. Interesting. Now, were you on a desktop or laptop? I ask that for a reason as well. Because on my desktop, my camera won't show in Skype, but on my laptop, it does show in Skype. Both Apple Macs, so really weird. And both Skype firmwares are up to date. So there's a glitch. Laptop. Okay. Yeah, I would say just check your Zoom software is the current version. That was the issue for me. Hopefully it will be the same for you, and a really, really easy fix. FaceTime is Apple's own. Yeah, they don't let third party. Yeah, I understand that. Chris, yeah, Apple lock out the webcam, so you can't change the camera for FaceTime. It's locked into their own operating system and hardware. So, David, that may be your answer there. You won't be able to. Thanks for that, Chris. Good feedback. Ellie, have you tried it yet? There's a question. Have you tried the new Fujifilm X webcam for any Zoom meetings or streaming like I'm doing now with the X-T4? Anybody else? Has anybody just joined the room that has no idea what I'm talking about and has missed me going through all the install and setup of Fujifilm's X webcam on Mac for your X series and GFX series cameras? If anybody joined the room and has missed that, just let me know and I will whiz through it again quite quickly, because there's not a lot there and it's so simple. Anybody? Okay. Other people joining the room. If you want me to go through the instructions of how to install and how to use Fujifilm's X webcam with your X series camera or GFX series camera, let me know. As I'm saying, this is being live streamed to you with the X-T4 via the USB port with no HDMI. Tom Chambers, yes please. Okay, Tom. First off, let's just find out, Tom, what camera do you have? X series or GFX or both? Let's find that out. And then we can whiz through it. Thanks for joining, Tom, by the way. Just wait for that to come through. So, Tom, yeah, this is all about, obviously, Fujifilm's X Webcam firmware update, where you can download that. And with certain X Series and GFX Series cameras, it means that you can now use your Fujifilm camera as either a webcam or for live streaming, like I'm doing right now, using only your USB port and a USB lead. Thank you, Francisco. Just caught the USB note. Cool. So yeah, you can use your USB port to use your X Series camera or certain X Series cameras. Already purchased a capture device last month, Francisco. Don't worry, Francisco, because I still use the Cam Link, which is this one, 4K. That's coming out through a clean feed on HDMI, and you can go 60p 4K with that. Obviously, the footage we're getting now out of the X Series camera via USB will not be the same quality as that. Let's just put that out there. This is just a nice, free, easy solution where you don't need to carry any HDMI cables or HDMI capture devices, and you don't have to spend £150 or dollars for an extra device to carry with you to live stream, which does get hot, by the way, and it makes your camera hot using that on a clean feed off your sensor. I'm just using XT4, one USB cable, no other power leads. The camera's being powered via USB as well, which is awesome. Once you get I'll just go through the screen for you. Did an update on Zoom, and it works. Perfect, David. Well done. Yeah, that's what I had to do. Update Zoom, and it worked just fine. Francisco, just coming back to you. Let's go back to the Fuji website for you. So just go to the Fujifilm website. Oh, he says zooming in, wrong screen. Just download it. Obviously, this is available for PC and Mac. I've got the Mac version up on screen because I'm a Mac user. Just go and download the firmware and just install it. Once you've got your install, do a restart on your computer, and it's in there, it's done. Now, to set up your camera, obviously check your camera's compatibility list. Here's a list of cameras on this tab that are currently active with the Fujifilm X Webcam firmware. I'm sure there's a couple extra cameras on there, like I mentioned earlier, but do need to check. But once you've done that, if your camera is on the list, then to set it up to be able to use it as a webcam or for live streaming, just go through this little section here at the top. They are sort of the mandatory settings. So have your camera on stills mode, not movie mode. Have your drive mode on single frame, and then go into your spanner, your toolbox in your menu, go to the connection setting, go to PC connection mode or connection mode, depending which camera you've got, and just select USB tether shooting auto. Just pick your camera version there and go into the appropriate menu in the setups. That is it. Just US, and then just go to PC shoot mode and USB auto, and you're done. It's as simple as that. Yes, nice. I got Elgato game capture. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. The Elgato stuff is good. It's been around for a long time. Perfect. Yeah, so go in. That's the mandatory settings. That's all you need to change. So just make sure you haven't got continuous autofocus turned on, because it won't work with that. If you've got XT4 and things, then you can go into the autofocus and manual focus setting in your menu and go to pre-autofocus and turn that on. And that will, I've also got face detection turned on as well, but because I've got pre-focus, autofocus turned on, if I put my hand here, you'll see that my camera is autofocusing, even though I don't have it on continuous focus. Okay. So that kind of helps. If you're static, you can go completely manual focus if you want. In the XT4 and X Pro 3, in the menu, in the connection setting, we've got a USB power supply setting, which we can turn on. XT3, the USB lead powers your battery anyway, so you don't need to do that. For simplicity, if people want to use this for streaming in that, or even a webcam, they recommend you can just leave all your exposure settings on full auto shutter speed, auto aperture, auto ISO. I've set mine manually because I've got continuous lighting set up here. And I wanted full control on that. I didn't want my camera to control it for me. So I've picked, for my setup, a 60th of a second shutter speed, because I'm using Ecamm Live software, which gives me 30 frames per second frame rate. And I've set my aperture at f4. I'm kind of controlling my exposure with my ISO dial because the other two are locked in. WOW was one X100 listed, 100F. I can't see it on that list. I'm not sure if this list is, to be fair, the most current and up to date. And maybe we'll look for a new list. But you can go on to the Fujifilm website to get a full update on what cameras are compatible with this. I'm sure some more will come, no doubt. If XT3 is on there, I see no reason why X100F couldn't be on there unless it's a power supply issue to the USB port on the main boards, which I know can be a prohibiting factor. If the power output to the USB port from the main board won't support the voltage draw, then maybe it won't work. Tom Chambers, great. Got my XT3 working with this. I also just bought a cam leak at the end of the month, but we use that for stuff. Cool. Nice one, Tom. Glad you got your XT3 working. It works fine, doesn't it? The quality is what it is. It's not going to be 4K quality like a cam link, but hey, we don't always need 4K quality with a cam link. Thanks for the quick answer, though. No problem. No problem. Just trying to look at the feeds as they come in. That's why my eyes are off of camera. So sorry for not looking directly at you all. Still about 30 people in the chat. That's quite good considering I only advertised my live stream about 10 or 15 minutes before I was going live. If I'd put a post out sooner, we'd probably got a lot more Fujifilm users there. And I know there's time differences around the world. So not bad. Maybe I'll do another one of these. Any other questions? Anyone? I'm waiting for somebody to pop up to say they've tried GFX on it. Maybe a bit overkill for live streaming GFX, but hey, if you're on location, it's the only camera you've got with you, and you've got a USB tether cable, and you shoot tethered to a laptop, then it means you can live stream with it straight away without having to worry about HDMI outputs and things. With cam link control settings without disconnecting camera. Yeah, Chris, you can because you're going into movie control rather than stills control. And because you're going through the HDMI, you're getting a clean feed off your sensor, which means you can operate your camera controls independently. The downside of USB functionality, I'm afraid. But it doesn't take too long if you wanted to manually set your camera up and go for manual functions rather than fully auto. It doesn't take too long to set that up for your room or for where you're sitting if you wanted to lock in your manual settings. I'm lucky with the XT4, obviously, because now we've got the flip around screen that we can pull around for sort of a vlogging purpose, if you want to call it that. So it means I can sit where I am and I can look at my screen and check all my exposure and things before I plug my USB cable in, can get the exposure right, and then just plug my USB-C in and it's locked in. Win-win. If you haven't got the XT4 and a flip around screen, I don't know what to say. Can't help you with that, I'm afraid. Maybe plug an HDMI monitor into it so you can turn it around and use that as your viewing screen while you set it up. Any other questions? Anybody use GFX on this? I should have done it on GFX, really, shouldn't I? Could have just said I'm using GFX. But we don't need to. Any other questions in the room? I see new people are joining. If you don't know what this is about, just put it in the comments. Say, what is this? The only downside of the XT3, I have to keep testing and disconnecting. Yeah. Sadly, it sucks. Maybe go full auto on that function then, Chris. If you can trust the ambient light or whatever lighting setup you've got, the auto function won't be too bad, to be fair. But that is the only thing. With this, you do have to set your exposure up. For people that didn't hear this earlier, you do have to set your exposure up because once you plug your USB cable in to use it as a webcam or for live streaming, your exposure is locked in. You can't then stretch forward and change your aperture ring. It won't do anything. The downside of using a USB out for this. But hey, at the end of the day, it's a free piece of firmware upgrade. And I think, people have been wanting this for a lot of years from many camera manufacturers. But for any of us that wanted a live stream, have always had to, invest into HDMI capture devices or capture cards to be able to plug our cameras, our mirrorless cameras in for live streaming purpose. So to have it as a USB feature, although the quality may not be the same as a 4K and our colors may get crushed a little bit, Yes, they're going to get crushed coming through to Facebook anyway. It always does. But it means now I can use Ecamm Live and I can stream to YouTube, to Facebook. I can split stream and stick it on other channels as well with Ecamm Live. You can use it with OBS if people want to use OBS as well. Like we've had in the comments previously, the picture quality I found earlier myself as well in OBS is not as good as Ecamm Live, even though it's the same USB feed. Don't understand that. Something to do with the software maybe. It's the downside of the XT3. Yeah, oh, it's the same comment. Sorry, Chris, I was just reading yours again. I thought it was a new one. Michael, good afternoon. Maybe I just put an ND filter on and then make sure we're slightly overexposed and can make small adjustments. Good idea, Chris. Yeah, and a good bit of advice for people in the chat as well. You know, if you're on full auto and things and the exposure is a bit bright, like I say, your exposure will be locked in once you plug that USB cable in. So you've got other options. You know, if you don't want to use all your exposure settings in full auto mode and you want to set them manually like I do, then if it is a bit too bright, then as Chris suggested, maybe use a variable ND, an ND filter or a variable ND, so you can adjust exposure on the lens, because you won't be able to change any ISO, shutter speed or aperture settings once your USB cable is plugged in and you're live streaming or using it as a webcam. Your exposure will be locked. So don't get confused. If your cable's plugged in, you try and change your aperture ring to open your exposure up a little bit or to adjust your depth of field. Don't be confused or upset that nothing's happening and it's not working. It's because your settings will be locked in. So get all your exposure set with your camera before you plug in your USB cable, or use an ND filter or variable ND. Good afternoon, Michael. We're just asking people in the chat what X Series or GFX Series camera they've got, and have they tried the X Webcam firmware feature yet to either use their camera as a webcam or to live stream like I'm doing now with the X-T4 via USB? What X Series or GFX Series do you have, Michael? Just out of interest. And I think we'll wrap this up then soon after that, people. Thank you for joining me at this very late announcement of a live stream, but I just thought it would be good to live stream via the USB just to show the functionality live, as it's only been out for the Mac over the last couple of days, and just to show people that it works absolutely fine. And yes, it's not just to use your camera as a webcam for Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and Google Meets and Hangouts. You can use it for live streaming like I'm doing as well without using HDMI, which is cool. X100F XT2, and I've tried the webcam series. Cool. Michael, have you tried it with your X100F or just your XT2? Because we had a question about the X100F earlier. And if you've got the F, it would be handy to know. It kind of works okay, but I've only just bought a new Razer webcam, so it seems a little redundant at this point. Okay. Did the webcam functionality or live streaming work with your X100F? There's the question. Because it's not in the camera compatibility list that I've got on my screen. Nope. Okay, cool. So it worked with your XT2. Anyone else in the chat that asked that question earlier about the X100F? No, it doesn't work with it, which kind of is a correct answer because it's not in the camera compatibility list from Fujifilm. Didn't know it could be done with 100. Michael, I don't think it can be. Somebody else was asking the same question, and Fujifilm don't have it in their camera list of compatibility. So who knows what might come later on. You might have a firmware update for X100F cameras that might unlock that feature. Yeah, exactly. XT2, yeah. Yeah, like we're saying, you know, it's not going to be capture card 4K quality, but hey, it means you don't have to buy a capture card now. You can just use a USB cable. And if any photographers shoot on location or studio tethered, like I do for most of my shoots, I'm tethered sort of 90% of my work. It means that, you know, if I fancy doing a live stream on set for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 20 minutes in between my shoots, it means I don't have to plug in HDMI capture devices. It means I can use the same USB tether cable that I'm shooting tethered with. And then, you know, as long as I've got an internet connection, I can live stream, and not just use it as a webcam, but I can live stream to OBS or Ecamm Live, which I'm using to live stream to Facebook. I'm glad I can now go into business meetings in black and white. Yeah, cool. Yeah, true point. True point. You've got to remember, you can take advantage of all your Fujifilm simulation modes for your camera to go into Zoom meetings or Skype meetings or your live streams. Indeed. I think I've got the classic neg mode on this, although Facebook will change all the saturation and crush all the contrast in that for sure. 100%. But yeah, hey, maybe I should have switched this into black and white mode before I started, perhaps. I can do it through Ecamm Live, but it won't be a Fujifilm simulation mode. But I can change the color slider for sure. A couple more minutes, chat room. And for everybody that's still here, I just want to say thank you ever so much for joining me. I didn't think I would be in the chat for an hour, and I have been. I thought it would be like a 10, 15-minute sort of intro to the new Fujifilm X webcam firmware and how easy it is to use and how easy it is to set up. Obviously, I've been through the setup of this a few times in this stream, but I didn't expect the questions to keep coming and the chat to keep rolling for nearly an hour. So I really appreciate everybody coming in. Just for people that are in the chat now, I just want to test this feature out of playback through Ecamm Live before we go. It's not camera related, it's audio related. Can people let me know if they can hear any music? Just give me a comment, either yes or no. Anybody? It's playing now. I'm guessing if people aren't commenting, then they can't hear it. Can anybody hear music? Anyone? Yes. Ah, perfect. Good. Music. Yes, thank you. Yes, we can hear music. Ah, thank you, everybody. Cool. That means even I'm using that as I'm going through a Rodecaster Pro podcasting unit, which I use for my podcast recordings. If people aren't aware, yes, I do run a podcast called Podlomania. It's a photography and video podcast where we interview creatives from the stills and movie and cinema world from all over the globe. So Podlomania, if you've not listened to that, go and have a listen. Appreciate the comments and likes on that as well. But I'm glad you can hear it. That's cool. So that means it's coming through fine through Ecamm and using the Fujifilm X-T4. Well, everybody, we got about 1 minute left. So I think we'll just round this off now. I just want to thank everybody for coming in and joining me. It was a very short notice live stream about Fujifilm's X webcam new firmware update where you can use your Fujifilm X Series and GFX Series cameras, certain models only, as a webcam or for live streaming via your USB lead. Very simple to use, very simple to operate. Thank you, everybody, once again, for joining me in the chat. If anybody wants to see any more live streams coming up on anything Fujifilm or fashion, beauty, world photography, please let me know, and maybe we'll set some more of these up on Facebook or even YouTube Live, where the quality of the image would be a little bit better. But I'm happy to jump in and do an hour's live stream. We can even make it topically based if you want. If people want any lighting streams or camera streams or setups or techniques or tips or Capture One or anything like that, please let me know in the comments, and maybe we'll set one up on a weekly basis where we can get into this. But thanks, everyone. And thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you all again soon. But thanks, chat. You've been great. And thanks for the feedback. And if you haven't tried it, please go and test it out as a webcam or some live streaming. It's pretty good fun. And yes, you can use your Fujifilm simulation modes to stream yourself in black and white. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day. Okay, bye.